Grimgor. Despite all this time, Greenskins being arguably OP, definitely top tier for quite some time, Grimgor is still just a sad footlord. I mean, his stats are certainly very impressive. 45 melee defense is not great, but he's got great armor piercing, good melee attack, good armor. It's 38 speed though, no regeneration. I mean, he's got 4,000 HP, which is okay, but like, got this Your Next, which helps debuff other things to be closer to his speed, but it's still not great. How will he do, though, against a foul Vampire Coast? This one from Glorious Feeder up against Kilrinu. A Grimgor here and an Orc Shaman. Night Goblins, Forest Spider Riders. Got some Biggins, Orc Air Boys, Rusty Airs. Orc Biggins, Black Orc Boss over there, more Night Goblins. Some Night Goblins in Vanguard, the 8-peak Loons even. As for Coast, Wild Queen Bess build, similar to what we saw with Kotep's Casket the other day. We can deal some nice anti-infantry damage to high-value infantry on the approach, maybe blast out some of the Greenskins' power. That will help. Speaking of blasting, I've got some Bombers here, Deckhands, 2 Gunnery Whites, and Count Noctilus, along with some Halberds. And of course, Gunbats, obligatory Gunbats if you have a Vampire Coast build where you want to win. Most likely you're taking quite some Gunbats, especially against a sort of not range focus faction like the Greenskins, although they certainly do have plenty of ranged units here. Orc Airboys trying to get into range to start shooting, but Queen Bess definitely raining some hell right now. Really good value. Even though they're relatively cheap units, definitely some ammo refills, and Scav's Wrath, of course, on the Gunnery Whites, but the 8-peak Loons get in. Let's see if they have their thing charged up enough to actually use it before they get completely blasted out by Bombers. So far, I have not seen the Fanatics be unleashed, but let's see. They are interrupting the Bombers at the very least. If they lose too much HP, then they can't actually use the Fanatics, which, you know, I mean, the Fanatics, unfortunately, they have been so heavily nerfed over time that it's tough to really use them effectively at times if your opponent's expecting it. Likewise, Black Orc Boss just gets pounded on the approach by the Gunnery Whites, just getting shot to pieces by them. But there's the Fanatics. They actually do get unleashed there. Gonna do a little bit of friendly fire, but nice sort of chaff clearing potential if you are able to use them. The rest of these are just regular old Night Goblins. They do not have the Fanatics, although they definitely would have been useful, certainly, to help bust up some of these slow zombies. But here comes Grimgor. The Gunnery White not paying attention. Even if he is paying attention, it looks like Grimgor and his charge animation will be fast enough. Your Next is now used as well, down to 6 melee defense. Speed, in particular, quite good debuff there. Grimgor is actually able to get a few hits in, and boy, will those hits matter. I mean, while also being popped here, it's up to 626 weapon strength. The Gunnery White just gets absolutely ground pounded here, forced into crumbling. Granted, he's still got 1,000 HP left. Just kidding, no, only 600 HP. Forces a panic heal from Noctilus there. But even on the Crab, once that Your Next wears off, he's, you know, 45 speed. I really think that Grimgor should be above 40 speed. That's just me. Even though I know he's a heavily armored, slow Black Orc in theory. He just, in practice, needs to be faster, I think. Like, Noctilus is 38 speed too, I guess. But anyway, let's see. Queen Bess is still able to continue firing very critically, even though the crew is definitely saturated with goblins here. Doing some immense friendly fire, but this is not where Noctilus wants to be, by any means. Look how much bigger Grimgor is than Noctilus, too. Like, holy cow. Yeah, like 3 hits and Noctilus is already down below half HP, so he definitely does not want any part of Grimgor there. Grimgor just absolutely punching him all over the face, in every single part of his face. So he's going to run for the hills, but there are still plenty of Gunbats left here. They can shoot, do some good damage to Grimgor. Noctilus will regenerate HP. Oh man, Queen Bess trying to hit Grimgor, I guess? I don't know, maybe a little bit mistargeted there. Probably wants to go after the Biggins if it can, but no more ammunition there. Needs an ammo refill. from one of the gunnery whites. It looks like they're a little preoccupied right now. This Gork on these squig hoppers. They're 49-42, doing some nice damage to the gunnery white, but the bombardment there from Noctilus going to do substantial damage to them, try and take them out of the fight. Noctilus himself getting so low here. Grimgor gets distracted by zombies, though. He does chad through them eventually, but just momentarily even getting stopped up there. Will it end up mattering? You're next on Noctilus. He gets a massive hit there. Again, not quite forced into crumbling, but another critical zombie summon to just saturate Grimgor and not allow him to move. And again, he's trapped in Footlord jail. Oh, he does have the blood-forged armor. The explosion knocks troops loose. Will it be enough? Oh, man. Just sad Grimgor just chasing around Noctilus. This is how it's going to be for some time. And because the gunnery whites are both still alive, they can now turn and fire as Grimgor's chasing Noctilus. Noctilus himself healing with an invocation of the Hex. So, although it was very dangerous just a moment ago, things are looking a little bit better for Vampire Coast. Also got these Orc Biggins and just plenty of zombie summons. Grimgor peels to try and finish off a gunnery white, which is definitely probably the right call. The gunnery whites are going to be shooting this entire time, but the gun bats, actual handgun bats here, do still have some ammunition, and they have armor piercing. Another refill on Queen Bess. Somehow Queen Bess still firing after all of this. If it takes out those Biggins, it's going to be a problem. The Biggins probably just going to rout anyway. But Grimgor now feeling the pain as he is getting tired and even that much slower. Oh, man. And definitely feeling the pain. If Grimgor had a Vigor refresh, maybe if you gave him perfect Vigor like Sigvald, I mean, obviously that would make him quite a bit stronger, but I do feel he needs some kind of Vigor refresh, because now that he's very tired to exhausted, I mean, he already had very low chance of catching anything, but even more so now, as his army kind of starts to fall apart here. Another Wah's been popped. Somehow this Queen Bess crew is still holding out and getting a ridiculous Scab Scraft placement there. Yeah, that's quite impressive how long the Queen Bess crew was able to hold out, and quite critical as well. Queen Bess definitely got a lot of damage there. Now Grimgor is continuing to face his fate of sad Footlord and trying to use his leadership ability. But I don't know, what do you guys think? Would a Vigor refresh be something else they could give Grimgor, or maybe give him perfect Vigor like what Sigvald has? I mean, it certainly would make him more powerful. The question is, would it be enough to actually make Grimgor good? Hard to say. Fortunately, Glorious Feet are going to take the L there, but big thanks for sending that one in. Very well played to both him and Killerino. Tough time generally for Coast these days, but I mean, absolute style points to Glorious Feeder for bringing Grimgor, and he actually did more than pay for himself. He got great value, don't get me wrong. It's kind of the rest of the army that let him down a little bit. Orc Arrow Boys, you know, I almost wonder, and I'm curious, Glorious Feeder and Killerino and anyone else who wants to chime in, you know, given that you're at somewhat of a risk of artillery here, I mean, obviously hindsight's 20/20, but I almost wonder taking all Night Goblin archers just because of the stock. Poison also, just having that little bit of extra speed debuff. Like, yeah, you have a few units with poison here, especially the Night Goblins fighting in melee, but just to be able to apply that at range as well. And again, just having your archers have stock on the approach, so they're not going to get as blown up, just because none of these Orc Airboys really did anything. And I guess even the Rusty Airs really didn't do a lot, and they also do have stock, so maybe that wouldn't have helped much. But I think, you know, outside of that, maybe bringing the Fanatics on more of these Night Goblins might have made a difference as well, just being able to thin out some of those zombies. Obviously, you could say take more Skirmish Cavalry to deal with the gun bats, and there is some merit there. You know, the Horse Archers aren't going to take as much damage from Queen Bess because you can dodge the shots much easier. So, again, more of a meta, quote-unquote, build. Definitely would probably be more Skirmish Cavalry focused. But nice to see Glorious Feeder going in a little bit of a non-meta direction, obviously, with taking Grimgor. Not that Grimgor is completely terrible in this matchup. We just saw definitely the limitation of him there. And maybe more light cavalry would have allowed Grimgor to operate a little bit better as well, just because he would have been able to catch up with Noctilus and the gunnery whites a little bit easier, with them being bogged down in the light cavalry, and maybe get some more hits on them, actually finish them off. It was pretty close, though. I mean, if Grimgor had been able to finish Noctilus there, that would have been it for Killerino. Wouldn't have had any more healing. His units would have started to crumble there and probably would have lost the game. Hard to say. But definitely a very fun one. Big thanks again to Glorious Feeder for sending that one in. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notifications. So every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. See you next time.